Willie Geist, you can take over from here. Willie?
Okay,
Go, Willie.
Senator, good to see you as always. I want to ask you about your Medium post last week where you talked about the breakup of big tech. The headline is, it's time to break up Amazon, Google, and Facebook. I think your argument was a little more nuanced perhaps than the headline. Can you explain what you meant there?
Sure. Let's use the example of Amazon. Amazon runs two kinds of businesses. One is it runs a platform, and that's the place where all the small businesses come and they trade and they buyers and sellers meet. And Amazon runs that platform, but also sucks out tons of information from every single transaction. It then uses that information that nobody else is privy to look out and say, oh, there's a profitable business. We think we'll go into competition with them. And so it then puts out a product in competition with the pet pillow sales guy and then moves the profitable business back to page 6 and puts Amazon right at the front, Amazon's own business. So the way I see this is a little like baseball. We'll use a baseball analogy here. You can be the umpire, that's the platform, or you can have a team in the game. That's running these individual businesses that meet on the platform. But you don't get to do both simultaneously. So I think those ought to be broken apart.
So another way to explain that, too, is let's take Apple, obviously a very popular company. It has an app store. Do you believe that Apple should be allowed to sell its own apps on its app store?
So it needs to do one or the other. Either it runs that platform, the app store, or it's selling its own products on the app store. But it doesn't do both of those simultaneously, because whenever it does, it has this enormous competitive advantage that wipes out all the other little businesses. In fact, did you know, Willie, that it's now referred to, this zone around folks like Apple and Google and Amazon, anyone that moves into the competition space, it's called the kill zone. And venture capitalists are investing about 20% less than they used to on these startup companies because they know if they go into the kill zone, one of two things will happen. They'll either get gobbled up by the giant or they'll get wiped out by the giant, but they won't have a chance to grow and develop into what they might have been.
So do you believe that Google, Amazon, and Facebook all are monopolies by your definition?
Oh, let's put it this way. They are huge, they have market dominance, and they behave like monopolists. And that's a big part of the reason they need to be broken apart. Look at what happened with Facebook. I don't know about you, but a lot of people are really uneasy about how Facebook handles their data. So along comes WhatsApp, right? And WhatsApp says, tell you what we'll do, we'll give a whole lot better protection for your privacy. And you watch a bunch of people move from Facebook over to WhatsApp. Now, that puts Facebook in the position of doing one of two things. Either they have to get better to meet the competition. That's what a good, robust market is all about. Or if you're already huge and dominate the field, just buy the competition and take their data. Facebook, of course, chose to do the latter. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. That is not furthering competition. You know, Willie, I believe in markets, but it's when markets have rules, when markets have a cop on the beat to make sure that the giants aren't gobbling up everyone else and eliminating competition. That's when markets work.
So would you have worked to stop in 2012 Facebook's purchase of Instagram?
Yes. And here's the thing, we can go back and still do it. It's possible to go back under antitrust laws and just say, look, we let this merger go through. Often the mergers are on conditional that they're not going to do this or they're not going to do that. But let the merger go through and look at it and say, it turns out it has anti-competitive effects. And if it has anti-competitive effects, then we can go back and unwind these and break these pieces apart. Understand, for anybody who still wants to go on Facebook and check out their old college roommates, or anybody who still wants to go to Amazon and price out 46 coffee makers and get the one that can be delivered in 24 hours, or anybody who wants to go on Google and check out the capital of North Dakota, that will all still be possible. The platforms will still be there. What will be different is that the companies that are selling on those platforms will be in a real marketplace where they compete straight up based on price and service and quality of goods, not having the platform owner able to come in and have this enormous advantage to be able to scoop up all the business and kill off the little businesses, the entrepreneurs, and the startups.
You know, as you know well, Senator, there's been this tension during the presidential campaign, and it's come from comments from members of your party who are not running for president in many cases about capitalism versus socialism. And I've been interested to hear you say time and again, and one, you said, I'm a capitalist to the bone. You were asked just on Sunday by John Heilemann on The Circus if you were a capitalist. You said, yeah, I'm a capitalist.
Yeah.
We know how you feel about new government programs, things you're going to add there. How do you explain where you are on the question of capitalism, socialism, and where do they marry each other?
So, look, I believe in markets. That's what this whole point about tech is all about. I see the benefits that markets can produce. I love the fact that there are a zillion people out there developing new apps or starting new businesses or trying a second line. I think that's fabulous. I think it's great that little businesses are trying to get to be medium-sized businesses, and medium-sized businesses are trying to get to be large businesses. But understand this, markets without rules are theft. And there's got to be rules, and there's got to be a cop on the beat. You and I go a long way back. You remember back before the crash that what had happened basically was the financial giants had figured out they could make buckets of money by cheating their customers, mortgages, credit cards, and sure enough, that's what they were doing. The cops on the beat, the regulators, just looked the other way, paid no attention. And the consequence was big banks made a lot of money. They broke the backs of millions of families and ultimately crashed our economy. That's why we needed rules. So I came in with the idea of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We got that bureau in place, and now you begin to see a much more level playing field. When there's a cop on the beat, those markets start to work again. And banks, in that case, are forced to develop their profit models not on cheating people, but on actually offering a better product. Now, Wells Fargo proves they're still willing to get out there and try to cheat people. But at least we had some cops who caught them and have hauled them in and are trying to make changes in the company. That's what it takes. Markets have a lot to produce, but only if they have rules and if they have a cop that's enforcing those rules.
So, Senator, despite its flaws, some of which you've laid out there, do you believe capitalism over the course of history has been a force for good?
So, yes, I do. I think it also, when it doesn't work, it's been a force for bad. But that's been true of every form of government that we can identify. That we've gotten it right sometimes and gotten it wrong sometimes. When you let markets work with rules and with people on the beat to enforce those rules, we can produce a lot of wealth in this country. That's what we've done for a very long time. We have to recognize there are areas where markets don't work. Healthcare, for example. Somebody having a heart attack is not somebody who's going to shop around to 6 different emergency rooms and say, which one is going to give me the best price? Education, public education, that's not a place where a market works. But there are places where markets do work. Coffee makers, pet pillows, I'm in. We need robust markets for those. That's how we produce, by the way, that's how we ended up producing the Amazons and Googles and Facebooks of the world, is the fact that markets could grow these incredible businesses.
So let me close by asking you, a lot of people seem to think the Democrats are most interested in having someone who can beat Trump. And Trump is a street fighter, and he plays by unfair rules. I feel like, just my opinion here, that Hillary Clinton was a bit boxed in on the debate stage, especially on issues pertaining to misogyny and sexism. I just feel like it was an area where she was extremely uncomfortable. How would nominee Elizabeth Warren, handle President Trump on the debate stage? Would you call him out on his misogyny? Would you call him out on his treatment of women? Would you call him out on his record? And how would you fight back when he calls you names?
So, I'm not afraid.
I want to know what this looks like.
Okay, let's start with, I am not afraid of anyone, and particularly not Donald Trump. People have told me for most of my life what's too hard to get done. And my response has always been to fight back. The consumer agency, right? So after the big
Consumer
crash,
Financial Protection Bureau.
that's right.
By Elizabeth Warren.
I came in and said, we need this agency.
Yeah.
You know what people in Washington said to me? They said two things. First one is, that is a great idea. That would actually change the world.
Yeah.
The second is, don't do it. Don't even try, because it's too hard. You won't be able to get it done. You'll be up against the banks. They'll spend millions of dollars a day lobbying against this thing. And you know what my response was? I just got in the fight. And I got in the fight, and I stayed in the fight. And today the consumer agency
Are
is
you
the
afraid
law
to get
of
into the
land.
fight and to get into his face when one needs to?
Not even a little bit.
Okay. All right, you got to go. I know. You've got a train to catch. Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you very much. It's great
it's
to
so
have
good
you
to
come
be
back
here.
anytime. Still ahead on Morning Joe. In the wake of a second deadly crash, airlines and countries around the world are grounding the Boeing 737 MAX 8 jets. But that doesn't include the U.S. NBC's Tom Costello joins us for that. Next, you're watching Morning Joe. We'll be right back.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.